This is the much awaited AXS V2, and if it's anything like the original AXS and subsequent XL versions and Camo versions, this too should fly off the Sonik shelves. So in this video, I'm going to tell you 5 key things you need to know about this new Sonik AXS V2. You'll be pleased to know the setup for the AXS V2 is pretty much the same as the previous models, with a slight difference towards the peak and the block end, which I'll get onto in a second. But to start with, you put all of the poles together as you'd expect. There's only one direction those poles will go in together because they have a flat profile on one side, so they won't twist once they're in position, and there's only one way they can actually go in, so you can't get that bit wrong. Once all the legs are in position, as you'd expect with any kind of bivvy with this design, with a central block system like this, you put the block against your chest and fan it out. Once that's done, it's about securing the peak in position, and that locks everything solid. Now, whereas the previous models, the arms for the peak were connected to the very front of the peak, and then you slotted the poles into the block, this is slightly different in that it's already connected to the block as one central hub, and you connect them or secure them in place with little caps that go onto the end of the poles on the peak. So you pull the arms round, bit of downward pressure makes that a bit easier because it slackens off the material. Put those caps on and then let it back up and you're done. That is the bivvy then freestanding. So if you need to get this bivvy up really quickly because it's raining, you want to get your kit under there because it's raining, I made that pretty obvious there, you can get it up freestanding very quickly. But then there's a few things to make it a bit more rigid, sturdy, and set up exactly how you want it. So you can put the tension strap across the middle. That gives you the perfect shape if you're going to be using the ground sheet, which we'll get onto a bit later on, or just the general shape this is designed to be in. You don't have to use that, of course. You can have it a bit wider, so it's lower profile, a bit more space inside, but that just helps give you the perfect shape for the bivvy. Peg it round as you'd expect, and you're pretty much there. Give a bit more rigidity on the front. You've then got this little rain guard or gutter system up here, which is then supported by this pole, which connects to the front 2 poles. That also stops the poles moving inwards. They can't go outwards either because it's all connected in with the fabric. So it's a nice and sturdy setup up here. You've got 2 storm poles just for extra rigidity, and also these Velcro meshes just go over the front bars to lift the peak up ever so slightly. So when it's raining, there's no saggy points. You can see that water's just going to run off down the rain guard, down the back, wherever. It's not going to pull on the front because it's got this support at the top. That's pretty much then solid. If you want to then introduce the front, you can do so. The door will just zip into place, in and off, on and off really quickly, and there's several different options with the door. You've got a solid panel on the front. You can also change the door then to clear PVC or a mesh, or have it off completely, so you've just got the sides, and of course the sides can be velcroed back to reveal mozzie mesh. So if you want, you can have full mozzie mesh front, or full closed up front, or see-through door, or you can pull the whole thing back, so in the day if you want a bit of airflow, you can then strip it back and have easy airflow and access to get in and out of the bivvy without having any kind of doors in the way. And if we go around to the back of the bivvy, you see we've got 2 mozzie mesh windows, but it's not just your standard mozzie mesh windows, because as we've seen with the previous models, you've got the storm vent spacers, which are now integrated into the bivvy. They're not separate little bars, so there's no way of losing them. They're there ready to go if you want to open up the vent when it's raining, but still want a bit of airflow. But it doesn't end there. You can also access the window from the inside, so you don't have to get out of the bivvy to change anything on the window, whether you want to zip it all the way open, so you've got open windows for the most airflow possible, or if you just want to undo the back, zip up the mozzie mesh again, so you've got the mozzie mesh vents. You can do all of that from the comfort of your bivvy without even having to get out of bed if you want, so that's a nice new feature as well. And the other thing to note is that it shares the same style of shape as the previous. It's got a flat back design, pretty much straight up and then across. So although this is the standard, there is also an XL, which we'll get onto in a second. Although this is the standard, there's plenty of room in it. I've been sat up bolt upright on my bed chair at the back, loads of view looking out, and I'm not touching the roof with my head. So it's a fairly small footprint, but lots of space on the inside. I've been on a 24-hour session. You've probably seen the kit that's everywhere, and it all fit within the bivvy. And one of the main differences, if you haven't spotted it already, is the introduction of the AXS alloy central hub. So it's now made of metal rather than the previous, which was plastic. I never had any issues with the previous block, but it's nice to know they've gone for a much more hard-wearing, lightweight, rigid and strong material, so that should have a lot more longevity to it than maybe the previous models did. Going from that, you've then got 6061 aluminium poles, so it's nice and strong but also lightweight. But they haven't ended there. They've also upgraded the fabric. This is now a 16,000mm hydrostatic head cloud-based plus Sonik material, so it's slightly thicker, more water repellent, and also a little bit darker on the inside as well. And talking of the inside, it's something a little bit different on the floor. And I'm talking about the ground sheet, of course. Now this can be put into position in two different ways, because it can zip in or clip in, or use both if you want to be really thorough. So in every corner, there's a plastic buckle to click it into place. So if you just want to be really quick, get the ground sheet in, but you're not too fussed about creepy crawlies and things and making it really secure, then that's absolutely fine. Then you can introduce the zips, which zip in all the way from the back around to the front, and if you've got the front on, it will also zip into the front as well. So if you want to keep out as many creepy crawlies as possible, but also if it's raining heavily and you're in a swim where the water might run under your ground sheet, because it lips up and actually raises on the inside of the bivvy, there shouldn't be any risk of water getting in and on top of your ground sheet. It should run underneath if it's going to do that. Then on the front, where my feet are, or where my shoes are, should I say, my feet are here, there's actually a retractable port system. So Velcro's off, rolls back. So if you've got a really muddy, boggy swim, you're in and out your bivvy and it's getting all churned up, but we want to keep your ground sheet as clean as possible for in the evening, maybe when you're taking your shoes off and putting your slippers on, you can do that. Keep it nice and muddy there. And at the end of the day, put this back in front. As you can see, I've had it down the whole time, so I have made it muddy. Apologies. But there's the option there to have a clean inside ground sheet come the evening. Now when it comes to accessories, you've got two main options, first of which being a dedicated overwrap. Now this is ideal for giving you some extra protection, a bit more warmth in the winter, a bit cooler in the summer, and just a bit more space on the inside as well, because it goes over the whole bivvy, and that door from the overwrap will fall down from the peak, whereas if you use the door on the actual bivvy, which is set back by a good foot or so from the peak, you have a little bit less room when you've got the normal door on than when you do when you have the overwrap. So for more coverage and space, that's when you'd go for the overwrap. But if you don't want that, but you still want a little bit extra protection on the top, then they've now got a dedicated vapor cap. Now this attaches in position with Velcro tabs all around, from the front all the way around on every rib, and they already have the little tabs or the receptors or little couplers to accept the Velcros already on the bar. So this bivvy will come ready to accept the vapor cap. You don't have to add on any kind of extra little bits for the Velcros at a later date if you then get the vapor cap. It's there, nice and low profile on all of the bars, so it's in situ, ready to go when you want it. And lastly, they also sent these little handy hooks. So if you want to wrap something around on the peak or any other bar that you can find access to, you can do that. Just like with the previous version, there's two different sizes available. You've got the AXS Standard, which is what I've been using on this session. It's been plenty big enough for me on this trip, but if I was going for several nights or a longer session, I may want something a little bit bigger, and that's where the XL comes in. But to start with, the size, dimensions, and weight of the Standard. Now the width comes in at 260 centimeters, the depth is 175 centimeters, and the height is 137 centimeters. And the weight comes in at just 9.6 kilos. But if you did want a bit of extra space, the XL comes in at 295 wide, which is 35 centimeters wider than this one, 210 centimeters deep, which again is 35 centimeters deeper than this one, and 165 with its height, which is 25 centimeters taller than this one. And of course, that's going to mean it's slightly heavier. It comes in at 13.5 kilos. And on top of that, you've also got the accompanying overwrap system for that, also the vapor cap that'll be dedicated for the XL, and also I did see on the Sonik website, it said picture coming soon, but there's an inner capsule coming for that as well. That's cool. And finally, the prices. The AXS Standard, which I've been using on this session, which is the whole bivvy itself, the front, the different doors, and the ground sheet all comes in at $399.99. If you then want to add the additional vapor cap, that comes in at $59.99. And then lastly, the overwrap comes in at $149.99. All of those are the RRP. So for more information, please do head over to the Sonik website. Take a look at this one, maybe the XL that I've mentioned in this video as well, and maybe pick one up for yourselves. But that's everything from me for now. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you again soon.